something notable is happening in quantum computing. We used to think that a useful quantum computer was maybe a decade or so away. But there's credible signals now that we might be 3 to 5 years away from a useful and commercially viable quantum computer. You know, when I look at governments investing more capital than ever into quantum computing and networking technologies, I think the World Economic Forum estimated over $30 billion has been invested by public organizations. The US investing $2 billion, the EU 7, Canada 1, China 15 billion in their respective quantum computing strategies. As well, obviously we have companies competing in this race to develop the first useful quantum computer. Recently, PsiQuantum, I think, received $600 million from the Australian government. Quantinuum, another player out in the UK, raised 300 on a post of $5.3 billion. So something interesting is happening. And there's a exceedingly positive stage for R&D set up. And how privileged and lucky are we at Inovia to have insider access through our investment in Photonic, headquartered in our backyard in Coquitlam, BC. So before diving in, let's see what they've been up to.
Everybody got that?
There'll be a test, yeah.
All right, we are not going to do the Science 101 today. If that was one of the two things you got out of the video, the other one might have been Microsoft. We will come back and talk about that, eh, Paul?
Sure.
First of all, you know, everything we've been talking about today is about this incredible tailwind that AI has brought to SaaS and to our companies, and the productivity gains over the next couple of decades for society. And as an engine of productivity growth and economic growth that venture can create is an amazing story. That's like this storm that's going on right now. Well, behind it, there's a tsunami that could be even bigger, and it's called quantum. So while we had this AI day a year and a half ago, suddenly having us question, what the heck can computers do and not do again? We thought the rules were clear, didn't we, Paul? There was a boundary around what a computer can do.
Used to be.
Used to be. Mm-hmm. And now with AI, there are some new areas of cognition, like mastering human language, that throw all this back into question. Well, quantum opens up even more and much larger new areas of cognition. And there are what are some really practical applications of that, Paul? What is that going to mean? We don't even have it yet, but we can talk about it. There's no one better than you to tell us about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hello everybody. There's a strange-looking lot here, very intimidating. Okay, I'll try. So first of all, apologies, I'm English. I speak in metaphors, so forgive me before I start. And I'm never prone to exaggeration. So Photonic is my 7th startup company, as it turns out. The previous 6, we had $2 billion exits and then 1 IPO, 5 acquisitions. So I've been doing this a long time. And I'd given up. I was trying to buy an 80-foot boat and sail around the world when the premier of the province of BC introduced me to Steph Simmons, who is the founder of Photonic. in 2016-17, an academic, educated here at Waterloo as part of the $1 billion that Canada put into quantum education over the last 20 years. She's certainly a product of that, and probably is the foremost quantum person in the world. So I met her, and she's an academic, and I'm a seasoned business guy, sort of rugged around the edges, and not another academic, you know, and trying to make a company work. This is a problem. So we sat down and we educated her, and then she came to us for angel funding. So in my career, I've done 60 angel investments and been an LP and so forth and so on. So myself, Don Matrick, and my wife Louise is here, and then on Matrick, we put angel funding in for community service. That's what we thought, you know. So we didn't really think this was going to go anywhere, and this is our contribution to the community, you know, $2 million to protect the IP. And in 2019, Steph did what she said she would do, and that is get quantum bits communicating with photons, and more importantly, photons that are the backbone of every data center and every telecom network. And so we have that now. Is that your question? Okay, no, so what? All right.
This is good. Keep going.
Okay,
You're on a roll.
I'm on a roll. Right. So without getting into quantum mechanics, I promise I won't do that. But essentially, I'll just give you context. My PhD was in AI, oddly enough. And my last job was, we got acquired by Cray, and I was the CTO of Cray. So I made the world's biggest computers, 100,000 processors, 4 megawatts of power. They power the missile defense system of the US, all protein folding, weather guessing, all that sort of stuff. You know, I had 300 PhDs working for me, sort of working on solving big problems for the future of the US. And these computers sold for about $1 billion each, just to give a picture. Okay, so roll forwards. What we do now is what Steph invented was an electron and another electron trapped in this little molecule, and the spin of the electron is a quantum property, and they can talk to each other photonically with light, okay, with telecom light. Now, just to give you a picture of how important this is, 54 of these electrons will outperform the world's biggest supercomputer. And I made the world's biggest supercomputer, so that pissed me off. Okay, so just to give you a picture, right? 54 of them, okay? We've put 1 million of these onto a chip. So I'm going to give you a picture here. There's going to be 3 technologies in the next 5 years that will change your lives. One, of course, is AI. It's now very fashionable. One is quantum. People don't really know about it. And the third one is fusion. Each one of them will actually change the nature of what it is that we are and what it is that we do. 3 of them hitting at the same time is going to be dramatic. So I just want to give you a picture. So we have a chip in the lab in Coquitlam that this one chip of 1,000 qubits is 30 orders of magnitude more powerful than the entirety of the world's compute resource. So give it not 30 times, 30 orders of magnitude, 10 to the 30. Okay, just think about that. So we're on the verge here of making chips in semiconductors. Moore's law is funny to us now, right? Because we actually harness the spin of an electron to generate, to compute. And more importantly than that, that video that you just saw demonstrates the fact that you can connect these electrons together via photons, and once you've connected them, they become what's called entangled, technical term. Impress your friends with the word entangled, right? So it's a great opener for your friends. We know what entanglement is, all right? Once they're connected together, you can cut that link and they're still entangled, no matter where they are in the world, okay? So they can be in different countries, and they're still, and we've demonstrated this, by the way, they're still entangled. And then you can submit a computer program to all of these bits, wherever they are in the world, and run a program on that compute platform, even though this computer's not connected together, which freaks everybody out, right? It freaked me out at the beginning, right? And so people go, well, we don't believe you. And so I point them to the Nobel Prize for Physics that was awarded in 2022, which is the demonstration of this particular phenomena in physics. Okay? So we've taken that phenomena, we've harnessed it, we now have a commercial product that actually sort of does that. So back to the question. Okay. So what? Who cares? All right. So I'm off. Who cares? So, okay, skill testing question. How many elements on the periodic table? Anybody know? Big guess. There you go. Order participation. How many stable elements to make it easy? Anybody know? Who's looking it up? 98? Well, 98 is a good guess. About 92-ish. It depends whether you think uranium-238 is stable or not. Everything that we eat, everything that we drink, every medicine that we take, every catalyst we make for climate change, every material we do is some combination of these 92 elements. Okay, everything that we do. Okay, so the killer application for quantum computing is to be able to do chemistry, which inherently is a quantum phenomenon. When we did chemistry at high school, we were doing quantum. We were adding acid to bases to get salt and water, remember those days? We were stripping electrons, and we stirred it up, and it was wet chemistry, but it's quantum chemistry. Now we can do that on a computer, which means that all of the big things that you think about, such as curing cancer, sort of doing proteomics and bioinformatics, all can be done in real time on a quantum computer. So material science, battery technologies, catalysts is a good example. Replacement for petrol is probably ammonia. The problem with making ammonia is that you have to use the Haber process, which uses a catalyst that isn't very good. Well, what if you plug into a computer, give me a better catalyst, it gives me 50% more yield. Now you can make ammonia, you could distribute ammonia, and that is a solution for climate change.
You could do that in your cray?
I'm on a roll. Okay, so there's a whole, the killer application, there's a whole new world in chemistry, for example, when you can simulate it with something that is 30 orders of magnitude more powerful than the world's biggest supercomputer. Okay, so that's the easy one. The complicated one is quantum computers will decimate the economic system of the world by breaking RSA. So a quantum computer will break all of the commercial transactions in the world. It'll kill blockchain. It'll kill Bitcoin. I was talking to the CEO of PayPal last week. He said, really? I went, oh yeah, destroy was the word I think I used. So don't panic. It's going to be okay.
Fortunately, there's a national-wide area quantum secure network that's been already built with over 10,000 kilometers of fiber links and satellite links, and it connects every major financial center, including Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou.
You'd think, yeah. So
but not any of our cities.
No, that's right. Nothing in Canada.
What do we do about that?
I know. Yeah, that's a good question. Let's talk to somebody in Canada to do stuff like that. Yeah. Anyway, anyway, so we're going to break the financial system, which is good. Which means that so this is an important point, every sovereign nation is terrified about the incoming quantum computing revolution that's coming. And as we just said, it's not 10 years, it's 3 years or less. And the reason for it is because people can now start doing things like breaking firewalls, breaking codes, breaking nuclear codes, et cetera, et cetera. And so this has become a sovereign issue. And I spend all my weeks actually talking to governments now, going, what do we do when this comes?
So it's like when Bletchley Park had the Enigma cracker, I guess? Is that
nothing is safe. Nothing is safe. But the good news is you can solve it with quantum networking, which is great. So create the problem and create the solution. I love markets like that, right? So this is good. So this is causing countries, as you pointed out, to spend billions and billions of dollars to have a sovereign quantum computer in their particular country. So we're going to see a world in about 3 or 4 years' time of the haves and the have-nots. The haves are the people that have a quantum computer and have access to quantum computing because it will massively affect their GDP. And the have-nots, which is countries that don't have access to quantum computing or quantum services. And my fear right now is Canada will be a have-not rather than a have. Oddly, we invented quantum computing here. We have the highest number of quantum engineers in the world. I have 140 of them working for us in Canada. University of Waterloo was instrumental. The Canadian government put $1 billion into it. And yet we'll be a have-not country, I think, at this point in time. Canada is being very slow to follow this. Unless, of course, Canada has basically bilateral contracts with other countries. Incidentally, if you think I'm exaggerating, which I am prone to do, I did warn you at the beginning, that as of April the 1st of this year, everything that we do in Photonic is now subject to export regulations are the same list as nuclear weapons, attack helicopters, and nuclear submarines. So it is such a threat to sovereignty of the country, which is why PsiQuantum just got paid $600 million to move to Australia from Silicon Valley. So they're going to move, and their price was $600 million.
And Paul, that was going to be my question. As a young Canadian, I'm always like, where does Canada benchmark on that global stage? You know, for you building Photonic, which you're at around 100 employees, would you say?
140, yeah.
140, headquartered in Canada,
Yeah.
That talent innovation kind of landscape, and Microsoft. So tell us about that partnership and kind of the coming together of your fantastic Series D last year.
Yeah, so we did 100 million in Series D at the end of last year. The Magic Six, if you want to call them that, you know, the Microsofts, the Googles, the IBMs, the Nvidias, the Teslas, know that quantum will add $1 trillion to their bottom line, or to their market cap. And so these are the conversations we've had with them. And so various of these people are moving to try to secure some sort of supply of quantum technologies. So we have a relationship with Microsoft where we can deploy our quantum computers in any Microsoft data center in the world. That gives me access to 192 countries and any data center. And we can sell our quantum services under the Azure brand. So we get access to the Microsoft branding. As you know, as a startup, again, this isn't my first, this is my seventh, the access to markets, access to brand, distribution channels, especially with something that is this difficult, if you like, from a regulation point of view all over the world, is something that I had to secure early. So that's what we did, we secured it early. Is that everything?
We're looking good.
Okay.
We're looking good.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Dude. You know, our cocktail speaker, Sebastian Melody, who wrote Power Law, a fairly well-known group in the VC community here, he wraps up his book with the recommendation that that we aggressively continue this division of the tech stack between China and the West. And you've hinted at some of the implications here, both in supply chain, addressable market, but also just ability to pursue these technological advancements.
Yeah, so we have to be super careful because China and Russia especially treat quantum as China as a commercial thing and then Russia as a military thing. And so we get attacked every day. I have at least 10,000 attacks every single day. So we actually run a national security infrastructure to protect ourselves so that we don't get attacked. So we don't use any cloud services, for example, because we're not allowed to, as it turns out. We can't allow anything. We run a need-to-know basis on everything that we do and so forth and so on, because this is really pretty vital. One thing that's not obvious to everybody is that if there's a war, then the first thing that'll happen is you'll take out the GPS satellites. And so the operating in a GPS-denied environment, as they call it, is very important. Quantum can do that. Once you actually entangle qubits around the world, you no longer need to be connected by anything physical, which is really weird, again, I know, I understand, but it's true. So you can distribute atomic clocks, you can distribute sensors, you can distribute positioning information with having no physical connection to the sensors at the end of the network. If that makes any sense at all to anybody. Okay, physics is understood, and so now everybody is moving very quickly. People like NATO, for example, moving very fast to try to protect themselves against any future communications and C-cube, command control communications type of infrastructure going forward.
Yeah, I guess the next question I have, Sean, for you is, I'm often asked and also self-reflect, you know, what's Inovia's strategy in investing in companies like Photonic? And if I just think about the trajectory, we wrote a small check early 2021, followed that up with another $2 million check, and then recently participated in the $100 million Series D. So yeah, mind kind of expanding on why we invest in moonshots and what our internal strategy is.
Well, of course, we only invest in enterprise SaaS, so we would never invest in a hardware company or a science.
Are we a hardware company? Okay, yeah.
I think, you know, what we've seen with Vital transforming healthcare and delivery, with Cohere as a foundational model. You heard this story with Corey and others earlier today, with Photonic, really looking where there are incredible world-class groups of people within our network Don and No being longtime LPs in the funds, part of our network, Paul, us knowing each other prior to your work here, really having the ability to bring insight, access, relationships, to be able to build that opening for future growth within the fund. It's by no means a core at the start, but as we start to see the progress, suddenly we're in a different place. I think there might have been revenue on the last
first
quarter.
quarter.
What's that all about?
We have revenue.
Product? How did that happen?
You don't need product for revenue.
You don't need product. So the idea of moonshots is to participate, build insight, access, relationships, to then be able to really double down when it starts to matter. And all of a sudden we find ourselves in a place where this is happening within a fund cycle rather than out another fund cycle.
I do think it's true that the Canadians are very Canadian, which is, can we actually invent things here? Are we very conservative here? Yep. Think of the things that we did, things I've been involved in. We invented the wide area network, we invented ATM, we invented MPLS, we invented the IP infrastructure in the most of the modern world in Newbridge networks back in the day. Firewalls, one of the companies we did was we invented deep packet inspection in firewalls. And then in 2000, I thought, well, I'd like to say there was a strategy to it, but there wasn't. I was just a guy. I wanted to build a big computer, so I just built a big-ass computer. We used to call it a big-ass computer. That was a technical term for it in 2000, and then 6 months later, Cray bought us, and then that is now the infrastructure for every supercomputer sold in the world, invented in Burnaby, believe it or not, right? So then we move on to quantum computing. We did a lot of biotech, and then let's talk about quantum computing. And we have the world-class people here. Yeah. We have people that know each other. We've known each other for 20 years, maybe. Don and Nanon are long-time Canadians, came back from the Valley to Canada. And so this ability to actually invest in ourselves to answer a question.
The global exec team you've brought in too, which these are not just local stars. This is a global star-studded team you've attracted.
So we've had a question that came up earlier about recruiting people. We've had 16,000 applications for places in Photonic. We have 140 people. We have a 0.03% win rate for people coming in. My entire executive team are women, oddly enough. This is strangely enough.
Well, some of them Steph has personally gone after with a vengeance.
I have some diversity issues here, right? I'm the minority on the executive team, as it turns out. And we've hired people, smart people, wherever they live, most of them in Canada because of the Canadian mechanism. The Canadians' inability to actually sort of turn that into a commercial operation, whereas everybody in the world is queuing up on the voicemail, as it were, to get that, is an issue I need to deal with. The other one, of course, is supply chain, which is having a nanofab facility here. We actually make our chips here in Canada, and having supply chain.
Heretical.
Yeah.
You've just hired an exec that's actually built complete fabs before in her career.
Yeah. Three times, yeah.
Talk about that a bit.
Yeah. So hiring the right people and just having the ambition to do it.
What will Photonic be in 5 years? Tell us about Photonic in 2029.
That's probably a social political question. Well, what are the governments going to allow us to do? So governments are going to want to have domestic and sovereign supply of all chips. So my vision is that we'll have places in the US, the UK, and probably in Europe to provide the quantum computing and quantum communications infrastructures for those things in those countries.
Very good.
Yeah. How are we doing? 4 minutes.
Closing thoughts?
Questions.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think they have any questions. We're going to get swamped at the break. We're going to get swamped at the break.
We have a question over there.
We do. John, go ahead. John, go ahead.
Please. Shout up again.
The unlock of quantum is kind of mind-bending. And I've heard some version of like we get to X number of qubits in the information unlock. Can you run us all through that to help us understand how big a breakthrough this could be?
Yeah, so 54 qubits outperforms the world's biggest supercomputer. Every time you add a qubit, you double the power of the computer. So 55 is twice 2 supercomputers, and 56 is 4 supercomputers, and so forth. And so for a very long time, people were building qubits, which are these physical things, out of all sorts of things that they would bolt together. And so the race was 56, 57, that's nothing, I've got 60, I've got 61. So we had this kind of number of qubits race. What Steph came to me with as a business plan in 2017 is, I can make a qubit, I can put it on silicon, and this qubit is like a transistor. This is the next generation of transistor. So this is a very small thing, it's a 1 nanometer thing, and it basically looks like a transistor as far as you're concerned. Incidentally, does anybody know where the transistor was invented? Anybody know? Burnaby, close. No, it was patented first here in Montreal in 1926. And sat on the shelf till 1950 when Bell Labs used it for hearing aids, and then they used it for amplifiers, and they turned it backwards and used the quantum tunneling in transistors to make a switch, and a switch is the birth of modern microprocessors. That's the history of transistors. It started in Canada, oddly enough, right? So here we have a new transistor that we can make on a silicon chip, and we are very good as a humanity in making stuff on silicon chips. So when we get to 1,000 qubits, just to pick a random number, that's 2 to the 1,000, which is about 10 to the 30 more powerful than the world's biggest supercomputers. Now, one thing it will never do is it won't replace your iPhone. People ask me, will I have it on the bench or on the desk? Probably not. You will access it as a service. So then the question the governments are asking is, should we allow anybody to access this quantum computer? Because it's such a powerful thing, bad actors will use it for bad things. And so I actually foresee people regulating the use of the quantum computers going forward. But to answer your question, we make these routinely now. I make about 4 a week currently, okay, here in Canada. We have a manufacturing facility at Waterloo, and we have another one in Burnaby. So we have 2 manufacturing facilities here in Canada, and we make them routinely. And when I say this to governments, their jaws literally drop to think, so this is real. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can whatever. And last week, this announcement came from Steph being on stage at The Economist last week, where we announced the birth of the quantum internet. So when you can do these photons and you can exchange these things, it means that you can now do distributed communications and you can run programs on a sea of entangled states. We have now demonstrated that. So we have it between 2 locations, and we can do it. When we launch a satellite, for example, you can also bounce them off a satellite, and so you can have a computer which is electrons on the base across the world, and then run any size of program on these computers. So it's here now. So we are moving hard.
All right. Quantum is big. There are geopolitical impacts. Photonic is serious about building a useful computer in the near term.
One thing I didn't say. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
So AI is an interesting question. So the mathematics of AI is linear algebra. The mathematics of computing, quantum computing, is linear algebra. So you can probably guess that certain people we won't mention will actually fund, power AI with quantum computers in the back office. That's probably going to be a very important thing. So much so that I noticed at the TED Talk about 3 weeks ago in Vancouver, the quantum guy from Google now calls himself a quantum AI guy, right? So they've changed their titles. So you're going to see AI and quantum actually come together. I think they might be a bit out of phase right now, but they are going to come together and be a force. Sorry, I thought I'd throw that in.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul.
All right.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, thank you.
All right.